Marcus Johnson looked at his phone one more time as he walked through the busy Chicago airport. The meeting had gone better than he expected. His company, Technova Solutions, had just signed a deal worth $50 million. After 15 years of building his business, moments like this still made him smile. He pulled his black carry-on bag behind him as he made his way to gate B12. The airport was crowded with travelers trying to get home before the weekend. Marcus had done this trip dozens of times. Chicago to Atlanta was a route he knew well. His company spent over $10 million a year just on flights. Being the CEO of a major software company meant lots of travel. Marcus reached the gate and saw his flight was on time. Skyline Airlines Flight 447 would get him home by 8 in the evening. He had dinner plans with his wife Sarah and their 2 kids. His daughter Emma had a soccer game tomorrow, and he promised he would be there. He checked his boarding pass one more time. Seat 2A in first class. Marcus always flew first class for business trips. His company had a special deal with Skyline Airlines. They were what the airline called a platinum corporate client. This meant better seats, faster check-in, and special treatment. It also meant his company paid the airline about $120 million every year for all their employee travel. The gate agent called for first-class passengers to board. Marcus gathered his things and walked to the front of the line. He handed his boarding pass to the young man at the E desk. "Good evening, Mr. Johnson," the agent said with a smile. "Have a great flight." Marcus walked down the narrow bridge to the plane. The flight attendants greeted him as he entered. He found his seat in the second row. Seat 2A was a window seat on the left side of the plane. He put his bag in the overhead bin and sat down. The first-class section was quiet. Only a few other passengers had boarded yet. Marcus pulled out his laptop and opened his email. He had 347 new messages from the day. Most were congratulations about the new deal. His assistant had already scheduled follow-up meetings for next week. Marcus looked around the cabin. The seats were wide and comfortable. There was plenty of space for his long legs. A small table folded out from the armrest. The flight attendants were setting up for drink service. Everything seemed normal. He opened a report about the company's third-quarter numbers. Technova had grown by 30% this year. They now had offices in 12 cities and over 800 employees. The business he started in his garage was now worth over $2 billion. Marcus felt proud but also tired. Success came with a lot of responsibility. More passengers were boarding now. Marcus could hear families finding their seats in the back of the plane. Children were asking questions about flying. Parents were trying to get everyone settled. The usual sounds of people getting ready for a flight. A flight attendant approached his row. She was a woman in her 30s with short brown hair. Her name tag said Lisa. She looked nervous. "Excuse me, sir," Lisa said quietly. "I need to speak with you about your seat." Marcus looked up from his laptop. "Is there a problem?" Lisa glanced around the cabin. "Well, there seems to be a booking error. We need to move you to a different seat." Marcus frowned. "I don't understand. This is my assigned seat. I have my boarding pass right here." He held up the small piece of paper that clearly showed seat 2A. "I know, sir, but we have a situation. There's been a mix-up in our system. We need this seat for another passenger." Marcus stayed calm. He had dealt with airline problems before. "What kind of mix-up? I booked this seat 3 weeks ago. My company has a contract with your airline." Lisa looked even more uncomfortable. "Sir, I understand your frustration, but we have a more important passenger who needs this seat. We can move you to a very nice seat in our main cabin." "More important?" Marcus asked. He kept his voice quiet but firm. "I'm not sure what that means. I paid for this seat. My company has platinum status with Skyline Airlines." Other first-class passengers were starting to notice the conversation. An older woman across the aisle looked over with curiosity. A businessman 2 rows back had stopped reading his newspaper. Lisa looked toward the front of the plane. Marcus could see she was waiting for someone. "Sir, I really need you to cooperate with us. We can offer you some compensation for the inconvenience." Marcus closed his laptop. "I appreciate the offer, but I need to stay in first class." I have work to do during the flight, and I specifically booked this seat. He showed her his phone screen with the confirmation email. Everything is properly documented. The plane was getting fuller now. More passengers were walking by his row to find their seats. Marcus noticed some of them were looking at the conversation between him and Lisa. He felt embarrassed but tried to stay professional. Lisa stepped back slightly. "Let me get my supervisor. She can explain the situation better." Marcus nodded. "That would be helpful. I just want to understand what's happening." Lisa walked toward the front of the plane. Marcus could see her talking to another flight attendant near the cockpit door. The second woman was older and had gray hair. She kept looking back at Marcus while Lisa explained the situation. The older flight attendant walked over to Marcus's seat. Her name tag said, Janet Davis, and under that, supervisor. "Good evening, sir," Janet said. "I understand there's some confusion about your seat assignment." Marcus looked up at her. "Hello, Janet. I'm Marcus Johnson. There doesn't seem to be any confusion on my end. I have a confirmed reservation for seat 2A. I'm not sure why your staff is asking me to move." Janet's expression was not friendly. "Mr. Johnson, we have a very important passenger boarding soon who needs this particular seat. We are asking for your cooperation in resolving this matter quickly." "And I'm asking for an explanation," Marcus replied. "What makes another passenger more important than me? I'm a paying customer with a confirmed reservation." Janet's voice got slightly louder. "Sir, we're trying to handle this situation professionally. We can upgrade your seat on a future flight and provide some vouchers for your trouble." Marcus felt his patience running out, but he kept his voice calm. "I don't want vouchers or future upgrades. I want the seat I paid for on this flight." Janet looked frustrated. "Mr. Johnson, I need you to gather your belongings and move to seat 24C. That's a window seat in our main cabin." "No," Marcus said simply. "I'm staying in the seat I booked and paid for." The conversation was now attracting attention from passengers throughout the first-class section. Marcus could feel people staring at him. He wondered what they were thinking. Did they understand what was happening here? Janet walked away again. Marcus could see her talking on a small radio. This was clearly becoming a bigger problem than anyone expected. He looked at his watch. The flight was supposed to leave in 20 minutes. Marcus watched Janet walk to the front of the plane with her radio. She was talking in a low voice, but he could tell she was upset. Other passengers in first class were now openly staring at him. An older man in seat 1A was shaking his head. A woman across the aisle was recording something on her phone. 5 minutes passed. Marcus tried to focus on his laptop, but it was hard to concentrate. He could feel the tension in the cabin. The flight attendants were moving around nervously. They kept looking at him while they prepared for takeoff. Janet came back with another flight attendant. This one was a young man who looked like he was new to the job. His hands were shaking slightly as he approached Marcus's seat. "Mr. Johnson," Janet said, "this is my manager, Robert Kim. He's here to help resolve this situation." Robert looked nervous. "Sir, I apologize for any confusion. We really need your cooperation here. We can offer you a full refund for your ticket and 2 free first-class tickets for future travel." Marcus looked at both of them. "I don't want a refund. I want to fly to Atlanta tonight in the seat I booked. Can you explain to me why that's not possible?" Robert glanced at Janet. "Well, sir, we have a passenger who has special requirements. They need this particular seat for medical reasons." "Medical reasons?" Marcus asked. "What kind of medical reasons require seat 2A specifically?" Janet stepped forward. "Sir, we can't discuss another passenger's private medical information." Marcus felt confused and frustrated. "Then how do I know this is a legitimate request? This sounds like you're making up reasons to move me." The conversation was getting louder. More passengers were paying attention. Marcus noticed a teenager in seat 3B was recording everything on his phone. A businessman behind him was taking pictures. "Sir," Janet said, her voice getting sharp, "you're being very difficult. We're trying to solve this problem, but you won't cooperate." Marcus stayed calm, but his voice was firm. "I'm being difficult? I bought a ticket, checked in, and sat in my assigned seat. You're the ones creating a problem." Robert tried to speak again, Mr. Johnson, please understand our position. We have regulations we must follow. Sometimes we need to make adjustments for passenger safety. Passenger safety? Marcus repeated. How does me sitting in my assigned seat create a safety problem? Before anyone could answer, Marcus heard footsteps behind him. A white man in an expensive suit was walking down the aisle. He was tall, maybe in his 40s, with graying hair. He was carrying a leather briefcase and looked like he expected special treatment. The man stopped at Marcus's row. "Excuse me," he said to Janet. "I believe this is my seat." Janet smiled at the new passenger. "Yes, sir, Mr. Wright. We're just finishing up here. Your seat will be ready in just a moment." Marcus looked at the man, then at Janet. "Wait a minute. This gentleman is the passenger with medical needs?" Kevin Wright looked confused. "Medical needs? I don't have any medical needs. I just need to get to Atlanta for a business meeting." The cabin got very quiet. Marcus could hear the air conditioning system running. People stopped talking, even the flight attendants in the back of the plane were listening. "So there are no medical reasons," Marcus said slowly. "No booking error. No system mix-up. You just want me to give my seat to this man." Janet's face turned red. "Sir, this is a private business matter. We need you to move to your new seat now." Marcus looked around the cabin. Every passenger in first class was watching. He could see phones pointed in his direction. People in the main cabin were standing up to see what was happening. "No," Marcus said clearly. "I will not move. I paid for this seat. I have every right to be here." Kevin Wright looked uncomfortable. "Look, I don't want to cause any trouble. Maybe there's another seat available?" Janet turned to Kevin. "Mr. Wright, this is your assigned seat. We'll have this resolved in just a moment." She turned back to Marcus. "Sir, I'm asking you one more time to cooperate. If you don't move voluntarily, we'll have to call security to remove you from the aircraft." Marcus felt his heart beating faster. He had never been in a situation like this before. "You're going to call security because I won't give up the seat I bought to someone else?" "Sir, you're disrupting this flight," Janet said loudly. "You're preventing us from departing on time." A woman in seat 4A spoke up. "Excuse me, but this doesn't seem right. Why should he have to move?" An older man in the front row stood up. "I've been flying for 30 years and I've never seen anything like this." Janet ignored the other passengers. She spoke into her radio again. "I need security to gate B12 immediately. We have an uncooperative passenger." Marcus felt sick to his stomach. This was really happening. They were actually going to remove him from the plane for refusing to give up his paid seat to another passenger. "Kevin," Wright put his briefcase down. "Look, this is getting out of hand. I can take a different seat, or maybe I can catch the next flight." "Absolutely not," Janet said quickly. "You have a confirmed reservation. This gentleman is the one causing the problem." Marcus looked at Kevin. "Sir, I appreciate your offer, but this isn't about you personally. This is about what's right. I bought this seat 3 weeks ago. My company pays this airline millions of dollars every year. I shouldn't have to move because someone else wants my seat." 2 security officers appeared at the front of the plane. They were both large men wearing uniforms. One of them, whose name tag said Tony Martinez, walked slowly toward Marcus's row. "What seems to be the problem here?" Tony asked. Janet pointed at Marcus. "This passenger is refusing to follow crew instructions. He won't move to his reassigned seat." Tony looked at Marcus. "Sir, I need you to gather your belongings and come with me." Marcus felt all eyes on him. He could hear people whispering. Someone behind him was definitely recording everything. This would probably be on social media within minutes. "Officer," Marcus said calmly, "I haven't broken any laws. I haven't threatened anyone. I haven't been rude or disrespectful. I'm sitting in the seat I paid for. Why are you removing me?" Tony looked uncomfortable. "Sir, the flight crew has the authority to reassign seats. If you don't comply, you'll be removed from the aircraft." Marcus looked around the cabin one more time. He saw faces filled with shock and confusion. Some people looked angry. Others seemed scared. A few were shaking their heads in disbelief. He slowly closed his laptop and put it in his bag. "I want everyone here to witness what's happening." I'm being removed from this flight for refusing to give my seat to another passenger. I've done nothing wrong. Marcus stood up and took his bag from the overhead bin. The entire plane was silent except for the sound of phone cameras recording everything. This is wrong, he said loudly enough for everyone to hear. And everyone here knows it. Marcus walked off the plane with as much dignity as he could manage. The security officer, Tony Martinez, walked behind him, but he didn't seem happy about the situation. Other passengers watched through the plane windows as Marcus was escorted down the jet bridge. "Sir," Tony said quietly when they reached the gate area, "I want you to know that didn't feel right to me. I've been doing this job for 10 years, and that was unusual." Marcus stopped walking and looked at the officer. "Thank you for saying that. Can you write a report about what happened?" Tony nodded. "Already planning on it. You handled yourself well in there. A lot of people would have lost their temper." Marcus sat down in the gate area and pulled out his phone. His hands were shaking slightly from anger and shock. He had never experienced anything like this before. The plane was still at the gate, but he could see passengers looking out at him through the small windows. His phone was buzzing with notifications. Someone had already posted videos of the incident online. Marcus clicked on one of them. The video showed him calmly explaining his position while Janet got more and more aggressive. The comments were already starting to pour in. "This is disgusting," one person wrote. "That man did nothing wrong. I fly Skyline Airlines all the time." "Not anymore," said another. "This looks like discrimination to me," wrote a third person. Marcus called his wife Sarah. She answered on the first ring. "Hi, honey. How was your flight?" she asked. Marcus took a deep breath. "Sarah, I need to tell you something that just happened. You might see it on the news." He explained everything from the beginning. Sarah listened without interrupting. When he finished, she was quiet for a moment. "Marcus, I'm so sorry this happened to you. Are you okay?" "I'm angry, but I'm okay. I'm going to miss Emma's soccer game tomorrow, though. The next flight doesn't get in until late. Don't worry about the game. We need to figure out how to handle this situation. This isn't just about you. This is about something much bigger." Marcus knew she was right. He had built his company by being smart and strategic. He needed to approach this the same way. He called his assistant, Jennifer. "Hi, Jennifer. I need you to do some things for me right away." "Of course, Mr. Johnson." "How did your meeting go in Chicago?" "The meeting went great, but something else happened. I need you to pull all of our travel contracts with Skyline Airlines. I want to see exactly how much money we spend with them every year." "Is everything okay?" Marcus explained what happened. Jennifer was shocked. "That's terrible. What can I do to help?" "Get me those contracts. Also call our legal team. I want to meet with them first thing Monday morning. And call our public relations company. We might need their help too." "I'll get right on it." Marcus hung up and walked to the ticket counter. A young woman behind the desk looked nervous when she saw him approaching. "Can I help you?" she asked. "Yes. I need to get on the next flight, to Atlanta. I was just removed from Flight 447. The woman's eyes got wide. "Oh, you're that passenger. I heard about what happened. I'm really sorry." She typed on her computer for a few minutes. "The next flight is at 11:30 tonight. It's completely full, but I can put you on the waiting list." Marcus looked at his watch. It was only 7:15. He would have to wait over 4 hours. "Actually," the woman said quietly, "let me check something." She typed some more. "I can put you in first class on that flight. No charge." Marcus smiled sadly. "That's very kind of you, but I think I'll take a coach seat if one opens up. I've had enough of first class on Skyline Airlines for one day." While he waited, Marcus started making notes on his phone. He wrote down everything he could remember about the incident. The names of the flight attendants, what they said, how they acted, the exact time everything happened. He also started researching Skyline Airlines online. He wanted to know if this had happened to other people. It didn't take long to find similar stories. A black doctor removed from a flight in Detroit. A Hispanic businessman downgraded from first class in Miami. An Asian family separated on a flight to Seattle. Marcus felt sick reading these stories. This wasn't just about him. This was a pattern. His phone rang. It was his brother David, who lived in California. Marcus, I just saw a video of what happened to you. Are you serious? They really kicked you off the plane? Yeah, it really happened. I'm still at the airport waiting for another flight. This is crazy. You need to sue them. I'm thinking about it. But I want to be smart about this. I don't want to just file a lawsuit and disappear. I want to make sure this doesn't happen to other people. David was quiet for a moment. You know what you should do. Hit them where it hurts. Your company spends millions with that airline, right? Marcus had been thinking the same thing. Yeah, we do. Then stop. Take your business somewhere else. Get other companies to do the same thing. Money talks louder than lawsuits. After talking to his brother, Marcus called Jennifer back. Jennifer, I have another job for you. I want you to find out how many other companies we do business with that also use Skyline Airlines for travel. Get me a list of our biggest partners and clients. What are you thinking? I'm thinking we might not be the only company that doesn't like discrimination. While he waited for his flight, Marcus kept watching the videos online. They were spreading fast. The hashtag #SkylineDiscrimination was already trending on social media. People were sharing their own stories about bad treatment by airlines. A reporter from a local news station showed up at the airport. She approached Marcus carefully. Mr. Johnson, I'm Lisa Park from Channel 7 News. Could I ask you a few questions about what happened? Marcus thought for a moment. He wanted to be careful about what he said publicly. I'll answer a few questions, but I want to be clear about something. This isn't just about me. This is about how airlines treat all passengers. Everyone deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. The interview was short. Marcus stayed calm and professional. He didn't shout or get emotional. He just explained what happened and why it was wrong. What are you going to do now? The reporter asked. Marcus looked directly into the camera. I'm going to make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else. His flight finally boarded at 11:15. Marcus sat in seat 32B, a middle seat in coach. The flight attendants on this plane were very polite to him. Word had obviously spread about what happened earlier. As the plane took off, Marcus looked out the small window at the lights of Chicago getting smaller below. He felt tired, but he also felt determined. He had built a successful company by solving problems. Now he had a new problem to solve. By the time he landed in Atlanta, the videos had been viewed over 2 million times. His phone was full of messages from friends, business partners, and reporters. The story was getting bigger than he expected. Marcus knew his life was about to change. He just hoped he could use that change to help other people. Marcus arrived home at 2:30 in the morning. Sarah was waiting up for him in the kitchen. She hugged him tight when he walked through the door. I'm so glad you're home safe, she said. This has been all over the news. Your phone has been ringing nonstop. Marcus looked at his phone. He had over 200 missed calls and more than 500 text messages. News reporters, business partners, and people he hadn't talked to in years were all trying to reach him. The kids saw it on social media, Sarah said. Emma is furious. She wants to write a letter to the airline, and Jake keeps asking if you're in trouble. Marcus sat down at the kitchen table. He felt exhausted. I'm not in trouble, but this is bigger than I thought it would be. Sarah poured him a cup of coffee. Show me the videos. They watched several different recordings of the incident together. Sarah got more upset with each one. Marcus, this is so wrong. The way that woman talked to you. The way she treated you, like you were nobody. You're one of the most successful businessmen in Atlanta. That's the point, Sarah. It shouldn't matter if I'm successful or not. They should treat every passenger with respect. His phone rang again. The caller ID showed Richard Stone. Marcus recognized the name immediately. Richard Stone was the CEO of Skyline Airlines. Should I answer it? Marcus asked Sarah. It's 2:30 in the morning. He must be really worried. Marcus answered the phone. Hello, Mr. Stone. Mr. Johnson, I am so sorry to call you this late. I just learned about what happened on Flight 447. I want to personally apologize for the way you were treated. Marcus put the phone on speaker so Sarah could hear. "I appreciate you calling, Mr. Stone. This kind of behavior is completely unacceptable. I want to make this right. We're prepared to offer you a full refund, free first-class flights for a year, and a significant cash settlement." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Mr. Stone, I don't want your money." "I'm sorry, what?" "I said I don't want your money. A cash payment doesn't fix the problem. It just makes you feel better." Richard Stone sounded confused. "Then what do you want?" "I want you to fix your system. I want you to train your employees properly. I want you to make sure this never happens to anyone else." "Of course we can do that too. We'll conduct additional training for all our staff. We'll review our policies. But surely you understand we need to compensate you for this terrible experience." Marcus looked at Sarah. She nodded encouragingly. "Mr. Stone, let me be very clear. I don't want your personal apologies or your money. I want systemic change. And if I don't see that change, my company will take our business elsewhere." There was silence on the phone for several seconds. "Mr. Johnson, I understand you're upset, but let's not make any hasty decisions about your corporate travel account." "It's not a hasty decision. My company spends $120 million a year with Skyline Airlines. That's a lot of money to give to a company that discriminates against its passengers." Richard Stone's voice changed. He sounded worried now. "Mr. Johnson, please, let's meet in person to discuss this. I can fly to Atlanta tomorrow. We can work this out. We can work it out very easily. Stop discriminating against passengers. Create real policies with real consequences. Make sure your employees understand that every passenger deserves respect." After Marcus hung up, Sarah looked at him with admiration. "You handled that perfectly. This is just the beginning. Tomorrow, I'm going to start making some calls." Saturday morning, Marcus called an emergency meeting with his senior management team. They met at the Technova offices even though it was the weekend. His vice president of operations, Carol Martinez, his chief financial officer, Steve Wilson, and his head of human resources, Linda Hayes, all came in. Marcus explained everything that happened and showed them the videos. "This is unbelievable," Carol said. "I travel with Skyline Airlines every month. I never imagined they would treat a passenger this way." Steve was looking at his laptop. "Marcus, I pulled our travel spending numbers. We spent $118 million with Skyline Airlines last year. That made us their third largest corporate client." "Good," Marcus said. "That gives us leverage." Linda was taking notes. "What do you want us to do?" "First, I want us to immediately suspend all business travel with Skyline Airlines. Effective Monday morning, no Technova employee flies on Skyline." Steve looked concerned. "That's going to be expensive. We'll have to book with other airlines at higher prices. It could cost us an extra $20 million this year." "I don't care," Marcus said firmly. "Some things are more important than saving money." Carol nodded. "I agree. But we need to find alternative flights for everyone quickly. We have 47 employees traveling next week alone. Do whatever it takes, charter planes if you have to." Marcus's phone buzzed with a text message. It was from his friend Robert Chen, who ran a major consulting company in New York. "Marcus, I saw what happened. This is terrible. My company spends $80 million a year with Skyline. We're switching airlines on Monday. Let me know what else I can do to help." Marcus showed the message to his team. "It's starting already." Over the weekend, Marcus received similar messages from 12 other CEOs. Some were friends, others were business partners he had worked with over the years. All of them were disgusted by what they saw in the videos. By Sunday evening, Marcus had commitments from companies representing over $500 million in annual airline spending. They were all planning to stop using Skyline Airlines. The story was growing on social media too. The hashtag #UnsBoycottSkyline was trending nationally. People were sharing their own stories of discrimination by the airline. Some were posting pictures of canceled tickets and changed flights. Marcus's phone rang Sunday night. It was Richard Stone again. "Mr. Johnson, I've been getting calls all weekend. Several major companies are canceling their contracts with us. This is getting out of hand." "It's not out of hand, Mr. Stone. It's exactly what should happen when companies discriminate against people. Please, we need to meet. This could destroy our business. Marcus felt no sympathy for him. Your employee destroyed your business when she decided I wasn't good enough for the seat I paid for. We've already fired Janet Davis and Lisa Carter. We're conducting a full investigation. Firing 2 people doesn't fix a company culture that allowed this to happen in the first place. Then, tell me what will fix it. What do you want from us? Marcus had been thinking about this all weekend. I want a complete overhaul of your passenger treatment policies. I want independent oversight of discrimination complaints. I want regular bias training for all employees. And I want it all in writing with real consequences. And if we do all of that, you'll stop the boycott? If you do all of that and do it right, I'll consider flying with Skyline Airlines again. But the boycott isn't just about me anymore. Other people will make their own decisions. Monday morning, Marcus held a press conference at his company headquarters. Reporters from all the major news networks were there. He had prepared a short statement. Last Thursday, I was removed from a Skyline Airlines flight for refusing to give up my paid seat to another passenger. This wasn't about customer service or airline policies. This was about discrimination. And my company will not support businesses that discriminate against people. A reporter raised her hand. Mr. Johnson, how much money is your company taking away from Skyline Airlines? Technova Solutions is suspending our $120 million annual travel contract with Skyline Airlines effective immediately. We will not resume business with them until they demonstrate real changes in how they treat passengers. Another reporter asked, do you expect other companies to follow your lead? Marcus smiled. Other companies will make their own decisions based on their own values, but I believe most successful businesses understand that discrimination is bad for everyone. By the end of the day Monday, Skyline Airlines' stock price had dropped by 15%. The company announced they were conducting an internal review of all passenger service policies. Marcus knew this was just the beginning of a much longer fight. Marcus arrived home at 2:30 in the morning. Sarah was waiting up for him in the kitchen. She hugged him tight when he walked through the door. I'm so glad you're home safe, she said. This has been all over the news. Your phone has been ringing nonstop. Marcus looked at his phone. He had over 200 missed calls and more than 500 text messages. News reporters, business partners, and people he hadn't talked to in years were all trying to reach him. The kids saw it on social media, Sarah said. Emma is furious. She wants to write a letter to the airline, and Jake keeps asking if you're in trouble. Marcus sat down at the kitchen table. He felt exhausted. I'm not in trouble, but this is bigger than I thought it would be. Sarah poured him a cup of coffee. Show me the videos. They watched several different recordings of the incident together. Sarah got more upset with each one. Marcus, this is so wrong. The way that woman talked to you, the way she treated you like you were nobody. You're one of the most successful businessmen in Atlanta. That's the point, Sarah. It shouldn't matter if I'm successful or not. They should treat every passenger with respect. His phone rang again. The caller ID showed Richard Stone. Marcus recognized the name immediately. Richard Stone was the CEO of Skyline Airlines. Should I answer it? Marcus asked Sarah. It's 2:30 in the morning. He must be really worried. Marcus answered the phone. Hello, Mr. Stone. Mr. Johnson, I am so sorry to call you this late. 3 weeks after Marcus's press conference, Skyline Airlines was in serious trouble. Their stock price had fallen by 30%. 7 major corporations had canceled travel contracts worth over $800 million. The boycott was spreading faster than anyone expected. Marcus sat in his office reading the morning news. The headlines were all about the airline industry. Skyline Airlines faces worst crisis in company history. Discrimination boycott spreads to hotels and car rentals. Congress calls for investigation into airline treatment of passengers. His assistant Jennifer knocked on his door. Mr. Johnson, Richard Stone is here to see you. He doesn't have an appointment, but he says it's urgent. Marcus looked up from his computer. Send him in. Richard Stone looked terrible. His usually perfect hair was messy. His expensive suit was wrinkled. He had dark circles under his eyes. Marcus, thank you for seeing me, Richard said as he sat down. I need your help. My help with what? My company is dying. We've lost 40% of our corporate clients in 3 weeks. Our employees are scared they're going to lose their jobs. Some of them have families to feed. Marcus leaned back in his chair. I'm sorry to hear that, Richard, but this isn't my problem. This is the result of your company's actions. I know. We made terrible mistakes. But we're trying to fix them. We've fired 15 people involved in discriminatory incidents. We've started new training programs. We've changed our policies. Firing people and changing policies isn't enough. You need to change your culture. Richard pulled out a thick folder. That's why I'm here. I want to show you what we're really doing. For the next hour, Richard explained Skyline Airlines' new plans. They were hiring a diversity officer. They were creating an independent review board for discrimination complaints. They were partnering with civil rights organizations for employee training. We're also setting up a $50 million fund to support organizations that fight discrimination, Richard said. Marcus was impressed despite himself. This sounds good on paper, but how do I know you'll actually follow through? Because you're going to help us make sure we do. Marcus frowned. What do you mean? I want you to join our board of directors. I want you to oversee our diversity efforts personally. I want you to have the power to hold us accountable. Marcus was surprised. This was not what he expected. Richard, I don't think that's a good idea. I'm not qualified to run an airline. You're not running the airline. You're making sure we treat people fairly. Marcus, you started this movement. You have the credibility to finish it. Marcus thought about it for a moment. I need time to consider this, and I need to see real changes first, not just promises. Fair enough. Can I show you something? Richard pulled out his phone and played a video. It showed Skyline Airlines employees in a training session. They were learning about unconscious bias and respectful customer service. The trainer was explaining how discrimination hurts everyone. We've trained 5,000 employees in the past 2 weeks, Richard said. Every single Skyline employee will complete this training by the end of the month. Marcus watched the video carefully. The employees seemed engaged and serious about learning. What about Janet Davis and Lisa Carter? Marcus asked. They were fired immediately. But we also learned something important from investigating their actions. They weren't acting on their own. They were following what they thought was company policy. What do you mean? For years, our unofficial policy was to prioritize certain passengers over others. High-status passengers, frequent flyers, people who complained loudly. Our employees thought they were supposed to move people around to keep important customers happy. Marcus felt angry all over again. So this was systematic discrimination. Yes, it was, and that's why we need systematic changes. We've eliminated all unofficial policies. Now every passenger gets treated the same way, regardless of who they are or how much money they have. 2 months later, Marcus stood in front of a congressional committee in Washington, D.C. Senators from both political parties had called hearings about discrimination in the airline industry. Mr. Johnson said, Senator Patricia Williams, your experience with Skyline Airlines led to major changes across the entire industry. Can you tell us about the impact of your boycott? Marcus spoke into the microphone. Senator, the boycott wasn't just about my company. It was about showing airlines that discrimination has real consequences. When businesses treat people unfairly, customers can choose to take their money somewhere else. Senator Williams nodded. And what changes have you seen? Skyline Airlines has completely reformed their passenger treatment policies. They now have independent oversight of discrimination complaints. They've trained all their employees on bias and respectful service. And they've created real consequences for employees who discriminate against passengers. Another senator, Robert Hayes, asked, Do you think these changes are permanent? I think they'll last as long as customers continue to demand fair treatment. The moment people stop paying attention, some companies will go back to their old ways. That's why oversight is so important. After the hearing, Marcus flew back to Atlanta. He was flying on Skyline Airlines for the first time since the incident. The flight crew treated him politely but professionally. No special treatment, no extra attention. just the respectful service every passenger deserved. The flight attendant was a young woman named Amy Rodriguez. During the flight, she approached his seat. "Mr. Johnson, I want to thank you for what you did. I'm new to this job, but I've heard stories about how flight crews used to treat passengers. The training we get now is so much better." Marcus smiled. "Thank you, Amy. How do you like working for Skyline?" "It's different now. We're taught that every passenger is important. It doesn't matter if they're rich or poor, black or white, young or old. Everyone gets the same respect." When Marcus got home, his daughter Emma was waiting for him. "Dad, my teacher wants you to speak to our class about standing up for what's right." Marcus hugged her. "What do you want me to tell them?" "Tell them about how one person can change things. Tell them about how you didn't give up when people were mean to you." That weekend, Marcus spoke to Emma's class at their school. 30 kids sat on the floor listening as he told his story. "The most important thing," he told them, "is that you don't have to be famous or powerful to make a difference. You just have to be willing to stand up for what's right even when it's hard." A boy in the back raised his hand. "Mr. Johnson, were you scared when they kicked you off the plane?" Marcus thought honestly about the question. "Yes, I was scared. I was embarrassed and confused and angry. But being scared doesn't mean you should give up." 6 months after the incident, Marcus received an award from the National Civil Rights Organization. The ceremony was held in a big hotel in Washington, D.C. Hundreds of people were there. During his acceptance speech, Marcus said, "This award isn't really for me. It's for everyone who refuses to accept discrimination. It's for the passengers who recorded what happened that day. It's for the business leaders who joined the boycott. It's for the employees at Skyline Airlines who are working to change their company's culture." Richard Stone was in the audience. After the ceremony, he approached Marcus. "Marcus, I have something to tell you. Skyline Airlines just had our best customer satisfaction scores in company history. Treating people with respect isn't just the right thing to do, it's also good for business." Marcus shook his hand. "I'm glad to hear that, Richard. But remember, the real test isn't your scores today. It's whether you keep doing the right thing when nobody's watching." As Marcus flew home that night, he thought about how much had changed. His refusal to give up his airplane seat had led to new laws protecting airline passengers. It had changed how multiple airlines treated their customers. It had shown other business leaders that they could use their economic power to fight discrimination. Most importantly, it had shown that ordinary people could create extraordinary change when they stood up for what was right. Marcus looked out the airplane window at the lights below. Somewhere down there, other people were facing unfair treatment. Some of them would stay quiet. Some would complain and then forget about it. But maybe, just maybe, some of them would remember his story. Maybe they would refuse to accept discrimination. Maybe they would stand up and fight back. And maybe, one person at a time, the world would become a little more fair.